One of the key things that people in power did to slaves to ensure that they stayed in power was that they dismantled the families early and often. They dismantled the families early and often. They separated children from their mothers. They separated men from their wives and their families. They took mothers out of the home. No regard for Black families. We as a community, I've said on a prior episode that I feel like that we as a community, we have undervalued the institution of marriage over time. And I think it's something to consider because, I've talked about this on prior episodes. I descend from what I call Black American slavery. When you descend from Black American slavery, it's such a unique experience. You didn't ask to be here. You were brought here against your will. So many layers to that journey, which is a whole slew of episodes in itself because there are a lot of parties involved in the transatlantic slave trade, and all of them weren't white, just being honest. We won't get into that right now, but when you descended from Black American slaves, here's the thing that I think, at least it resonates with me the most. Black slaves were not allowed to have human lives, literally. It was against the law for them to be literate, for them to gather, being well-read. It was against the law if you were a slave. A lot of your traditions that you kept or that you already had before coming over, a lot of that was stripped away. And so as a Black American, a lot of what we embrace culturally, it wasn't necessarily by choice. And when I look at all of the things that we have adopted and passed it along from one generation to the next, I look at how widely we accept certain elements and use it as a tool to bring us together and have faith in something more than ourselves. The Black church, for example, Christianity. Black Americans have adopted that religion and arguably have used it to their advantage. You could make that argument. What I know to be true, one of the key things that people in power did to slaves to ensure that they stayed in power was that they dismantled the families early and often. They dismantled the families early and often. They separated children from their mothers. They separated men from their wives and their families. They took mothers out of the home. No regard for Black families. In fact, an intent to tear apart Black families, to weaken the community. That's what when I say they, people in power, that's what they organized intentionally to keep us at our lowest point for as long as possible. These are the facts. The lack of family in any community, it's detrimental. These are the facts. And when it comes to Black American slaves, that has been a target on our community as soon as we got to this part of the world. They tore apart our families. When you fast forward to today, one of the biggest things that we struggle with as a community is the element of family. I believe in large part because of this institution of marriage. It meant something different then than what it does now. I get that. Patriarchy, misogyny, women didn't have rights. I get all of that. I get that. But what I would like to say is that before we got here, we understood the value of families. Before we got here. Culturally, when you look around, most cultures understand the value of family, the importance of sticking together. I truly believe marriage is so valuable to our community and what we can get out of each other. Marriages help establish stronger families, in my opinion, and stronger families are the foundations in which we build stronger communities. I am a big advocate for the institution of marriage. Now, do I think everyone should just be getting married? No, I think you should be getting married for the right reasons. I don't necessarily think marriage in itself is for everyone, but we will talk about that on this episode.